you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, stop me. 4 takes, that's you. 3 takes, not me. 2 takes if you lucky. First take, you got me.
What's up, everybody? We got 2 people watching right now. It's kind of key. Yes, it's welcome to the Cobb and Dash show. Earliest show we've had ever, I think. In the the hell? What's going on with your phone? Or your
changing the volume.
Oh, all right. Yeah, so welcome to our Tuesday edition of the Cobb and Dash. I think we were just talking last week about how we didn't like doing the Tuesday shows, but you're gonna be gone, so we had to do it today. It was the only day we could really squeeze it in. But how are we doing? You feeling good after the weekend, after the tough loss?
I'm
historic loss. Sorry, the worst score with guys starting all this lineup ever.
Is it?
I think so.
After the IDP performance last night, I ended up getting a 69. It was actually higher than I thought.
Oh, really? Oh, for some reason I thought you had a 57.
I did, and that's what I was projected for. No, we'll get to that performance in a little bit, but I had a good weekend and just kind of looking forward to moving on. Yeah.
Maybe this weekend will be key for you. Kind of regrouping in Austin, Texas, and you come back with a dub. A lot of people are hoping for that. Yeah. Who do you play this week? You play play Alex. So it's a team that's surging right now.
He is surging.
Made a great big trade last week. Got rid of Joe Burrow. Yeah. That was after our show too, right?
That was after our show. Yeah. It was I don't know if we're talking about it now, but no, that was outside of the results this week, I think that was the biggest news of the week easily. That was a little bit of a blunder on one side of that trade.
Whose side? I want you to be more clear and transparent about that.
Who do you think won the trade?
Who do I think won the trade? I think the biggest loser is Zach Marriage for trading Joe Burrow for like a 9th round pick over the summer.
That's fair.
And Calvin Ridley. I think if he just waited, because that's the thing. At that time, Burrow's value was high. Alex ends up trading him for 2 future picks now, like with his value as low as it is, and then on top of that, he looks even god awful against Tennessee the next day.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give Barrage the benefit of the doubt, not knowing people like Koch that are willing to shell out these kind of picks, especially this early in the season for a guy that's underperforming. So, that happens. But yeah, I mean, it's the clear winner here is Alex, though. I mean, he already had a good backup in CJ Stroud, who's been a great quarterback, and now he has Fields, who maybe he's back. We'll see. It'd be hilarious. It'd be funny if he finishes a higher QB than Burrow, though, by the end of the year. He got a 1st and a 4th on top of Fields. So, it was a big surprise for me.
Yeah, I had a few people in the league texting me saying how dumb Hodge was for doing that. They said all they heard about Matty Ice at the draft was, 4 championships, and then he makes probably the worst trade of the season so far.
Yeah, it's looking like it.
And the thing is, it's like if Bengals lose again, there's a huge chance that they could stash Burrow and IR if the season kind of gets out of hand. Like, you know what? Like, we're not going to put him out there in harm's way, and that would be disastrous.
That would be wild. We'll see if we get to that, but
his injury's not going to be.
Yeah, he's shooken up a little bit.
Yeah, his injury's not going to. If he keeps playing, injury's not going to heal. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's funny that Hodge's going back to the stack. He won the championship with that a couple years ago, so he's bringing it back. We'll see how the stack looks. That stack already didn't look good with Alex when he had T. Higgins and Burrow, and now somebody else is trying that other stack with it.
Like a slight upgrade of a stack.
Yeah, but the quarterback's the problem. So as long as the quarterback's not doing anything, then the other two aren't going to do anything. But anyway, so I guess we'll get into before we get into the main thing. Week do you have any takeaways from week 4 before we get you to do the earliest live chug ever?
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. No, biggest takeaway is some teams are in big trouble, and unfortunately, I'm one of them. This is part of the start of the season. But this is the start of the part of the season to where the playoffs starts slowly starting to take form. You kind of started to understand where the top teams lie. And early in the season, especially for me, I'm sure the same as with ZB and Tasia, I had high hopes that I'd be pretty solidly in the playoffs. But right now, it's not looking like that. I have some work to do, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, it looks like all teams besides Stu are all 3-1 in the playoffs right now.
Yeah,
everybody, and then you have 8 through 6 or 2-2, and then 9 through 11 or 1-3, and then Tasia 0-4.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tej. Yeah, my takeaway. My takeaway is we have two teams. It's more about a preview of this week, but you have two matchups this week that are all playoff teams, all 3-1 teams playing each other this week. So you're going to see more of a break next week after those games happen, and then obviously whatever happens with the other teams. But yeah, you have 2 and 3 and 1 and 5. Those teams play each other, and then the 4 spot plays 7th spot. So I mean, the top 6 are in a battle this week. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that all plays out. But yeah, that's my biggest takeaway, other than just seeing your dreadfully low score and just being surprised that you and Tasia are as low as you guys are right now. I would combine 1-7 between the two of you guys. And I thought you guys would at least be playoff teams this year. Yeah, it's a keeper league. It's not. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And when I mean marathon, I'm talking about multiple seasons. I'm not talking about one season thing. It takes a while. Especially not your case. I mean, you went through a whole rebuild, but like the other guys, Tasia came in, took over an awful team. His Bears took over a bad team. Yaglu took over a good team with no draft capital. So every team has its own kink, I guess. But yeah. All right. So last week you scored. Let me get the official tally for you, buddy. You scored. Wow, you made a comeback. You almost beat ZB.
Yeah, I was surprised. There was well, I can go on my little spiel before I do the chug, but I made it closer than I thought.
Yeah. ZT's Crystal Ball scored a 69.1, and Cobb is going to do a chug for us right now. Cobb, what do you guys say?
Yeah. No, just a disappointing week, a week that I'm gonna forget about. I will say, I think I could have put more effort into paying attention to my guys this week. Forgot I had Javonte in my starting lineup. That was a guy I put up the projections, which is always a fun thing to do during the week, but it's not as fun when you forget the guy. I think I had 80 points on my bench between 3 people. So if I start either one of those, if it was Garrett Wilson, I would have got. But if I started Demon or Nico instead of Javonte, I get the W this week, which is a rough pill to swallow, especially when someone like Hodge was primed to lose this week and he got away with one. But honestly, I'm happy by my bench's performance, and I think this is just one of those weeks that you kind of just forget about, and I gotta hope I move on. So
yeah.
So that's chug o'clock. I did not have any more seltzers left, unfortunately.
Oh no.
So now we're doing a little festive Sam Adams Oktoberfest. Figured this was the only choice because the only other beer in my fridge is at 9.5%. My co-host dropped off, probably just giving me the main stage. I was gonna pour it out and keep talking while I waited for it to go. It is also 10:41 a.m. So this is pretty brutal. Maybe this out. All right, let's get this in good. There we go. Got a nice Foothills glass. And hopefully, cheers to hopefully never being in this position again, especially to chug at before 11 a.m. when I have some meetings to get to in just a little bit. So. Whew. Yeah, definitely hope I don't have to do that again. Good beer though. Sam Adams Oktoberfest. Go pick it up.
Sam Adams actually sponsors this episode. That's good chug there, man. 10:42 in the morning, taking that in. It was a colder room temp.
Oh, it was cold. That sucked. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you don't do that again. Plus,
I'll get some water here.
And plus, if you ever had to do a chug again live, we're never going to do a show Tuesday at 10 in the morning. This is just circumstantial.
Yeah, it was a bad combination.
Although we might with the Dean's wedding coming up and then the Hotch wedding weekend.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah. But okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna dive into the week 5 preview. God, week 5 already, man. The season's flying by. You guys gotta just soak it in every weekend. Don't you're not gonna even watch NFL this weekend, so that's unfortunate. But soak it in for everybody else who's gonna be at home watching all the games every Sunday like a real man. Soak it in. But anyway, Cobb, I want you to do the first matchup this week. We got Rents due first of the month. Barry's boy Paul and Roden going at it. The 1v5 matchup in the highlight game of the week.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. Both of these teams are not teams that I expected to be 3-1 at this point in the season. Paul specifically was a team that I was hoping wouldn't be in this position, seeing as I do have his first round pick. So if he ends up, getting a really high or a high seed, let's say, for the playoffs, I'm going to be a little upset about the trade I made. But I will say one of the issues with doing a show, especially this early on a Tuesday, is teams have not set their lineups. And this is the first week of bye weeks as well. So we're going to have to make some assumptions on starters. But yeah, let's just get right into it. So unfortunate for Paul, and fortunately for Roden. Roden gets Paul on a really good bye week with the Chargers and the Brown. Wow, Paul's entire bench is on bye week or on bye, which is wild. This is where we talked last week. This is where we're going to start maybe seeing some cracks in teams that don't have the depth to backfill through these bye weeks. But Stafford against Josh Allen, I think it's a pretty easy Josh Allen. Josh Allen just had 4 total touchdowns. He looked awful week 1, but has looked like a superstar ever since. And pair that with Roden's stack of Stephon Diggs. He got a lot of flack for keeping such a high guy and making trades to keep high guys. And that a lot of reason why he didn't have a lot of draft capital, but it's been paying off. I mean, especially last week where Diggs had 3 touchdowns. I do like Ayuk over on Paul's side, but I'm going to give the edge to Diggs. I like Ayuk a lot, but Diggs is in that other tier, especially when you stack him with Josh Allen. Brian Robinson against Kyren Williams. I mean, Kyren Williams has been, we could talk about surprises of the season, easily one of the biggest. And I don't know what round Paul took him in, but I mean, it had to have been a late round, and he is one of the best running backs right now in the league. Over Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson had a hot start to the season. It's kind of tapered out. He's very TD reliant, which is not really what I like in my starting running back. So I'm going to give Kyren Williams the edge there, even though Brian Robinson is going against Chicago and their run defense and defense in general is pretty suspect. Mark Andrews versus Cole Kmet. I'm going to have to go with Mark Andrews there. I think that the Bears had an anomaly or an outlier of a week last week because they were going against the Broncos, and the Broncos literally can't stop anybody. We saw what Miami did 2 weeks ago, and then we just saw the team that looked like bottom of the barrel in the Chicago Bears go off offensively, even though they still somehow lost that game, which is kind of hilarious. And then we have, Paul's got some key surprises on his team. Now he has Devon Achane, who's kind of busted out. I'm excited for him. I have him in a couple other leagues. He's super fun to watch. If anyone hasn't watched the Dolphins yet, which you should, because you should be watching all these games.
like real men.
I'll be watching these games, dude. I don't go to the festivals until 4 p.m. 1 p.m.s are all me.
All right, that's pretty key. I think there are some key 4 o'clock games this week.
Yeah, there are. There's actually 4 of them instead of 3.
Instead of what it was this past weekend.
And 2 weeks ago, I think, as well. It's stupid.
Terrible.
A-Chain versus Waddle. This is actually kind of a wild spot to be in because this should be a gimme for Waddle, but he hasn't done anything yet this year. And A-Chain is trending he's pointing straight up with how much he's trending. Maybe it comes back down to reality this week for A-Chain, but I mean, they trust him a lot. Mostert's still involved. I know he fumbled, and I don't think they're going to go away from him because he's looked good, but I kind of want to lean A-Chain just because Waddle hasn't shown anything this yet. Tua is just looking at Tyreek, or the running backs are going off. Like, hasn't been great. And Waddle's ceiling hasn't really been that high, and A-Chain's has obviously been to the moon. So I'm going to go A-Chain there, actually. Pacheco versus Tutu Atwell. Pacheco is the guy that I wasn't super sold on coming into the season. And the more I watch him, the more I've enjoyed watching him. He's an extremely angry runner. And I also think that the upcoming schedule bodes super well for the run game for Kansas City. Tutu had a great start to the season. He had a little bit of a quiet week last week, I think. But just based off of the guaranteed touches and I guess Minnesota has decent run D, but I'm going to go Pacheco slightly there. And then Sutton versus Christian Kirk. Sutton has been getting he's like the only valuable other than Marvin Mims if you take a crapshoot on him. He's been the only like other guy in that Broncos offense. Sutton has been that Russ has been using or targeting or anything. So he's been a solid flex, but Christian Kirk has come all the way back. I think he had a blunder of a week 1, but now Trevor Lawrence seems to look at him exclusively when everyone thought it was going to be Calvin Ridley. Christian Kirk seems to be back into form. So I'm going to go Christian Kirk there. All in all, I really like this matchup. I think I probably would have leaned Paul had he had Herbert and maybe some other guys off a bye. It's just an unfortunate week for that, but he's 3-1. Roden's 3-1. None of them are going to sweat if they drop this game. I'm going to go Roden here, though, to continue his great performance in the beginning part of the season. Let's go 127 to 121. I think it'll be a good game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Roden's going to win this game. I will say A-Chain, only 8 carries last week. I mean, I know he had 101 yards and the amount of touchdowns he had, great and all, but only 8 carries isn't. You're not going to go off for fucking $20, 20 yards a carry, every week. So, like, I just see that. And then also you got Jeff Wilson coming back next week. So this might be one of the last weeks where you're like, A-Chain's a good starter. But then you have next week, Jeff Wilson comes in the picture. And we know McDaniels last year, Moser was looking fine. They trade for Jeff Wilson Jr. Jeff Wilson Jr. becomes the guy like within the week. So, like, there's going to be a little bit more of a RB committee, I think, when Jeff Wilson comes back. So that could hinder Mostert and A-Chain's threat to start on your lineup. But yeah, I go our guy Roden here. I think Roden. We're gonna find out early if Roden wins because Roden's got the 2 London games, Sunday morning, and then he's got 2 Thursday night games. So 4 of his starters are going to be done by the time the 1 o'clock starts. So we'll know how his team won, and we'll know we'll know how good he did. So, and I think we'll find out early that Roden's gonna come back on top. Roden's back, dude. Couple year hiatus of him being. Remember, he was in the finals. He beat me, lost to me, then lost to you in the championship. This guy had one of the best streaks we had in BL Plus in recent history. People want to forget that. I've been on the show trying to remind people who Roden was. People said, "Oh no, he's a bad owner. He just gives his team a hotch." Like, no, this guy, he's building something, and
this is we talked to coming into the season. I think Roden was one of those teams that we didn't have just based off of where he had himself with draft capital. One of the biggest surprises easily.
Oh yeah, and he drafted fantastically.
Oh yeah,
Christian Kirk, then pretty much the number 1 guy over there. I mean, Lawrence goes to him like every time. Yeah, I like what Roden's got going on. I'm a big Dave Roden supporter on this show. Roden's my guy. I think he's going to go pretty far this year. Maybe we might see Dave Roden back in the championship. It's been good.
Coming.
Yeah. All right. So the next matchup. Shit. I should have gone first. I'll wait. I'll let you do that one later. I'm gonna go to the 4-7 matchup. We got under new management and our guy Michael Yaglu versus Make Hotch great again and Matty Ice. So I got news on this game. So the Redskins and the Commanders and Bears. My guys Roden and Hotch are going to be going to that game live and in person. They're going to be watching themselves in person.
Wow.
So much, and they're doing that. And Hotch, who just traded for Joe Burrow, he's going to start Sam Howell this week, just based on how bad Joe Burrow looked last week with his injury. And he's going to the game, and he thinks that his defense is that bad that Sam Howell will actually do some stuff. So he wanted to have a little investment in the game. You could just bet on it, but he's doing that. But Sam Howell versus Jordan Love. Jordan Love looked pretty awful last week. It was one of the worst QBRs in recent history. I think he had a 7. Playing the Raiders. Raiders actually looked pretty. Raiders didn't look that bad last week. Chicago's defense just looks awful. Anybody who plays against them looks good. The Chiefs' offense is not right. We played them, looked right against them. I think Sam Howell's having a pretty good week. He had a great week against Philadelphia. I think Sam Howell beats the Jordan Love and the Love Howell matchup. Tyreek Hill versus Justin Jefferson, 2 of the best receivers in the league, statistically and just overall. Man, I'm going to have to go wash on that one. I mean, you got Tyreek Hill versus the Giants, pretty good matchup. Jefferson versus the Chiefs. I mean, we have a better defense, but it doesn't matter. Cousins is going to go to him either way. Yeah, I'm going to go wash here between the two of them. 2 of the best teams, 2 of the best receivers. Kenneth Gainwell versus Raheem Mostert. I'm going to go Raheem Mostert. Dalton Kincaid, Travis Kelce. I'm going to go Travis Kelce. Jamar Chase and Devontae Adams. Give me Devontae. I just don't. Although Chase having a pretty solid, a solid week last week, not this week. Last week, defense is not right. And Arizona's played every team tough, and they're going to give them all their might in that game. I just think Devontae Adams, man, he's been pretty matchup proof, even with the Aiden O'Connell guy who came in last week. So yeah, I'll go Devontae Adams for Green Bay. Judy versus Breece Hall. I'm gonna go Jerry Judy, but that also can be a wash too because, I mean, both guys aren't really doing well this year. They both look like ass. But I'm gonna go Judy. God, actually, I'm probably gonna go Breece Hall. You know what? That's a wash. That's a wash. Yeah, that's really rough. Christian Watson and Saquon Barkley. Is Saquon supposed to be playing next week?
I think people are assuming that he's going to play. I thought he was going to be out for this week, but we'll see.
Yeah, in case that he doesn't play, Khalil Herbert, let's just put Khalil Herbert in there because he'll be next man up, or Christian Watson. I'll go Christian Watson. Even in a limited snap count last week, Christian Watson had a touchdown and didn't catch any bombs. He's only going to be better this week, more time to heal. So this game's going to come down to the Monday night game, and I think Yaglu pulls it out, man. I think Yaglu's gonna pull it out with the Devontae Adams, Christian Watson, Jordan Love Monday night comeback. It's gonna be a close game. I'm going 121 to 116. God, what do you think?
Yeah. Yes. It's funny to me that week 5, if you told us at the beginning of the season, week 5, we would have 2 owners matching up with Sam Howell and Jordan Love as their quarterbacks. We'd be wondering what QBs got hurt. I think that's pretty funny. I do think, I guess it's the right call on Hodges' side with how everything's been shaping up. But yeah, no, I'm gonna go Hodge here. I think he had a really poor performance this week. Still got away with a win, sitting at 3-1. Yags is at the 2-2. I don't know if. Thankfully, he hasn't hit any buys with his receivers yet because those guys have been dominating and carrying him each week, at least for points wise. But yeah, I'll go Hodge there. I'll go like a 125 to 115.
Yeah. I mean, it could go either way, really.
Yeah.
Which is crazy though, because Iago's team I thought wasn't going to be like, Tyreek Hill's carrying him.
Yeah.
All right, so now you're gonna do the second matchup, primetime game of the week. It's the main America's game of the week at 4:25. So Barry's pickup lines versus Tua Nunn, myself versus Adam.
Yeah, this is a great matchup. As big as you are a Roden guy, you're just as much as an anti-Adam guy. So this is a great matchup. One that I think Adam is coming in with a lot of bulletin board material if he watches the show. Which is to be seen. But yeah, I think Adam's another team that we weren't super sold on, but he has enough firepower, mainly in Christian McCaffrey and AJ Brown, to keep him competitive in each game he has. But going Matt and Tua obviously has been a nice surprise for him. But go matchup. Mahomes versus Tua. Love this QB matchup. I'm gonna go Mahomes. He had a bad-looking game against the Jets defense, which is really good, but now they're going against Minnesota. Minnesota's defense seems to make everybody look good, passing the ball at least. So I'm gonna go Mahomes there. Even though I do think Tua has a good game against the Giants, I don't think that the Giants defense is pretty suspect, as we saw last night. And I guess it's mainly their offense is putting him in that position, but going Mahomes there. Deebo Samuel versus Drake London. I don't know what happened to Deebo this last week. I guess he was a decoy or something. I don't know. It seemed like it was the CMC and Ayuk show for the entire 49ers offensive drives. But this is a game where, assuming that Deebo is back to full health, again, I think that was the biggest question mark going into the game. I think they're kind of being safe with that. I think this is a game going against Dallas that they're going to have to rely on those guys a lot to come out with a W there and kind of establish themselves as the top team in the NFC. So I'm going to go Deebo over Drake London. Drake London has been salvaging some weeks because of touchdowns, as in 2 weeks. But until they bench Desmond Ridder, Drake London is not it. Or like anyone other than Bijan Robinson in that Falcons offense is just not it. And it's rough to watch because they have a super talented offense and they just can't do anything with it. So I'm going to go Deebo there. Derrick Henry versus Aaron Jones. Two guys that I don't think anyone really – people seem to be a little off on coming into the season. And Derrick Henry came back in a big way. I mean, we saw a vintage Derrick Henry run last week, which was awesome to see.
It was nice to see because I've always been on the I've never had Derrick Henry before this season in any of my leagues, and seeing that on my team last week was nice. I had a little tear come out.
I'm sure it felt really good. I'm gonna have to go Derrick Henry. Aaron Jones was on the snap count last week, and I think he might have gotten shooken up again during the game. And they have a bye the week after, so they might be extra cautious with him going into their bye week. So I'm going to go Derrick Henry there. Evan Ingram versus Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson has been trending up. Dak looks at him all the time, and I think he's also been one of the highest targeted in the red zone, but Dallas's red zone offense has not looked super great the last couple games. Evan Ingram has been a guy that's been producing without touchdowns, which is what I always love to see because the touchdowns will come. He is going against a really tough Buffalo defense, but outside of Christian Kirk, he's really been Trevor Lawrence's safety net, and he's great with the ball in his hands and after the catch. So I'm going to lean Evan Ingram there. I think they both have really tough matchups, but just based off of what they've done, I'm going to go Evan Ingram. DJ Moore versus AJ Brown. DJ Moore is again started the year kind of weak, but has put together, string of 3 great games. I'd be happy with him. And he's getting touchdowns the last 2 games. So obviously a great look, but I'm going to have to lean AJ Brown here. Ever since AJ Brown yelled at Jalen Hurts on the bench, he's been getting peppered with every single target that Jalen Hurts has. I mean, 14 targets and then 13 targets is ridiculous. And he got 2 touchdowns last week. They're clearly building something between them two and just kind of force feeding AJ Brown, which makes sense because he's awesome. So I'm going to lean AJ Brown there. Kamara versus McCaffrey. I'm going to obviously give it to McCaffrey, but I mean, Kamara coming back and getting 13 catches last week or something?
Yeah, 13 or 33.
Jesus, dude, that's ridiculous. A lot of it was because for some reason, and this is something that goes back to my matchup that I didn't really pay attention to, is that they trotted Carr out. I didn't even realize that with his shoulder. That was the stupidest call of all time. I don't understand what they were doing there. But it benefited Kamara because he got 13 catches, even though he was averaging like 2 yards a catch, which is also hilarious. But I'm going to have to go McCaffrey there, even though McCaffrey is going against a much better defense. New England's defense is going to be – I'm very interested to see how they do this week because we just lost Christian Gonzalez, who's our number 1 corner and very promising rookie, and then Judon is going to be out for a while. So – very rough look for New England, and that defense is going to be pretty suspect. And then we have Tony Pollard versus George Pickens. Going to have to go Tony Pollard. I think he's been kind of held in check, but a lot of it is because Dallas is so in command of these games defensively. But this is one of the games that I don't think they're going to be in that situation. So I think they're going to have to lean on Pollard because San Fran is obviously a very good team, and the first test they're going to have. Everyone's been giving shit for the people the 49ers have faced, but Cowboys have also just faced the New York teams, the Giants and the Jets, the Cardinals, and then the Patriots. Not really a tough schedule. So this will be a fun game. I'm going to go Pollard there. So all in all, I'm actually surprised Adam is so heavily favored. It's got to be because of McCaffrey, I guess. Yeah. His projections are giving Adam the win here, but I'm going to go Dash here. I think he's going to put Adam in his place. He's going to back up his talk and dogging of Adam. I think it's going to be a really good game, though. So I'm going to go, let's go like a 132 to 123.
Not bad. Yeah, I agree with all your with how you ranked everything there. I will say, AJ Brown torched the Redskins secondary last week. DJ Moore could do the same thing. I mean, he's playing them this week. I mean, DJ Moore looked really good, and he had Surtain on him a lot of the game on Sunday. He looked good. I didn't even start him last week. Yeah, and Kamara surprised the shit out of me. 24 touches, his first game back. I was not expecting that.
Ridiculous, dude.
I mean, that's another guy. Tear came through my eye. I've been on the other end of Kamara's big games. You were plenty of those games.
Sure.
But now I got him. Feels good, dude. My team. A mix of old and new. I mean, it's a mix of just like a lot of keenness. So the Henry and Kamara, two like perennial first round picks every year, and then like with my keepers I had. I mean, I just on paper, if you look at my team from like a 2019 glasses, you're like, damn, it's a really good team. So like, you know, but yeah, I agree. I think I pulled this one out this week. All right, so our next matchup here we have our 6 versus 12 matchup. So the team that's in the playoffs right now, but fringe playoff team versus our guy, Taja, who's really reeling right now at 0-4. He really needs a win here. So, and you don't want to play teams like this during the season. You never know. But anyway, we're going to go right to it. So Dak Prescott at San Francisco or Jalen Hurts against the Rams. I see what Taja's doing here by putting Prescott in the spot. He knows they're going to have to be thrown, whether they're getting dominated, they're going to be thrown and coming from behind, or it's a close game and they're going to kind of need to have a balanced approach, more balanced than they've had before. But then you have Jalen Hurts against the Rams. Rams games have pretty much been shootouts. I mean, if you're looking at any indication how Jalen Hurts could do, look at what Anthony Richardson did against the Colts last week. I mean, that right there is all you need to know. Jalen Hurts could easily have that kind of game. I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. CeeDee Lamb on the other end versus Devontae. Devontae Smith's done. Let's just say it. Can we finally say it? Devontae Smith's not the guy over there. I got flagged for it this offseason by calling him the number 2. And everyone's like, no, he's a 1B. I'm like, no, he's the number 2. He's the number 2. After AJ Brown yelled at him and told Hurts what I said, Hurts like, you know what, you're right. You are the number 1 guy. CeeDee Lamb, I think this might be like He's had 2 solid weeks, but I think this might be the week where he actually looks like the guy. Because I think, again, we haven't seen Dallas really get tested yet. They've been just playing a bunch of teams. You know, this is a game where you're going to see two. This could be an NFC championship preview, to be quite honest with you. And I think you're going to see a very well-balanced game. I don't think the Niners are going to blow them out by any means, but I think it's going to be a very close game, like a 21-24 kind of game. But I think CeeDee Lamb has a really big game as far as catches. So, yeah, I think Lamb easily beats Devontae Smith in this one. Dameon Pierce versus Atlanta or James Conner versus Cincinnati. James Conner, man, he looked like his normal James Conner self this past weekend, getting a 6. Dameon Pierce, he's been solid, and you're playing against Atlanta. They're pretty good against the run, actually. You didn't know that. But, yeah, it's a wash. It can be James Conner and Dameon Pierce is a wash. I think both guys are going to have a face tough matchups this week. Yeah, George Kittle versus Sam Laporta. I'm going to go, man, another one that might be a wash here. Yeah, we're gonna go wash. Even though I know Kittle is coming off a bad week, Laporta, it's been solid. Nakua or Madison, I'm gonna go Nakua. DeAndre Swift, Jacoby Myers. Although Jacoby Myers looks pretty damn good, DeAndre Swift, if he's continuing to get the bell cow carries, man, and they re-sign him, has to be a keeper for Tasia. Like an 8th round, I think he got him in. Has to be a keeper.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like the back that the Detroit Lions drafted out of college. He never looked like this in Detroit, but he looks amazing. Obviously, it helps having that amazing line. But DeAndre Swift, man, that blows Jacoby Myers out of the water. Adam Thielen or Miles Sanders, 2 Carolina players going against each other. Adam Thielen, I regret dropping him after week 1. Idiot. I tried to get him back, but Tasia outbid me by like good amount of money. But yeah, Adam Thielen, man, he got hurt during the game, came back in, had a decent game without a touchdown, but like he's just been solid. Miles Sanders is great and all, but yeah, Adam Thielen's just been, I would say, another guy who's matchup proof because he gets targets up the wazoo. I'm looking at this game, man. I think it's been a really close game. But I think there's something about playing an 0-4 team when their back's against the wall. They're putting it all out there, man. They might injure your guys. They might do whatever it takes to win. They might cheat a little bit. I think Tasia's going to win this game. I think Stu gets knocked out of that 6th spot this week. Tasia gets his first win of the season. I go 121-113, Tasia.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a pretty defining moment, I think, in both their seasons. It's going to come down to which stack performs better. On paper, I think you'd lean the Dallas stack with Dak and CD, but I think Stu squeaks this one out. I think it's going to be. I think Laporta is over Kittle, in my opinion. Puka has been ridiculous. Jacoby Myers has been awesome. I think Stu squeaks one out. I'm not going to go as high scoring as you did. I'm going to go like a 117-112 for Stu. But I agree. Like this could be, 0-4 back against the wall. I mean, this is a trap game for Stu. I think it's going to be defining for his season if he can get a win here.
And is what's his name? Is Garoppolo going to come back this week?
I haven't seen what the word is on that.
If he does, then I don't think it's going to change my Swift over Jacoby Myers at all. But I mean, that does help if Garoppolo's back, because Garoppolo was throwing to him so much. I mean, they have the rapport. But anyway, So I guess we're split on that. We're split on a lot of these. So the next one, you do the ZT's fantasy team versus having a very rough day. So this is having a very rough matchup to watch.
Yeah, very right. Yep, took the words right out of my mouth. This is two teams that I think we're going to talk about in just a little bit after we're done with the matchups here. Man, I feel bad. I mean, this is another season of ZT's like not performing poorly, but he's not like. I mean, other teams are just better. We talk about it every week. It's unfortunate. ZT has the talent to make a push, and maybe he's more of a second half team. I think it's unfortunate. He's not a guy that I expected to be at 1-3. But I mean, we'll go matchup to matchup and see kind of where things fell off here. So going off, Lamar Jackson versus Kirk Cousins. After Kirk Cousins had been a great find for ZB off the waivers, he had a unfortunately quiet game. And on the other side, Lamar looked like Lamar again with 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns. I think that's actually the first time he did that too, which was actually surprising. And so with that being said, I think the Vikings Chiefs game is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be like on the Viking side is fantasy productive outside of Justin Jefferson. So I'm going to lean Lamar there. Kirk Cousins though is still, I mean, a great find on the wire for ZB. Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Calvin Ridley. I mean, I'm giving Amon-Ra the edge here, just based off of his consistency. He's always using the offense. He's always targeted. He looks great with the ball in his hands. Calvin Ridley, on the other hand, has been an extreme disappointment. He got that touchdown against his former team. But, man, I mean, every week I'm watching these Jaguars games because I obviously have some investment in that offense. And Ridley's just always so close to having, like, such a much better game than he has. And it's so frustrating to watch because, again, I mean, it makes Trevor Lawrence look better too. But his target share has gone down each week. Christian Kirk is back to being the guy. Evan Ingram is heavily involved. And I don't know. It's just a disappointment. And this is kind of where we went back to, I mean, he looked great week 1, but like preseason, we were kind of dogging the Calvin Ridley being a big factor in trading Joe Burrow. And this is some of the concern we had. We hadn't seen the guy play in a while. He's been dropping a lot of passes. I think he still has a lot of potential. I think he's going to still turn out a good year, but he's been looking rough so far. So we go Amon-Ra there. Jahmyr Gibbs, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon he went against Tennessee's run defense, so I'm not going to look too far into that. I'm going to give him the edge over Jahmyr Gibbs, who got completely outshined by David Montgomery. Even though David Montgomery just came back from injury, that just shows how much more they trust Demon, unless they're trying to figure out how to use Gibbs. Gibbs has been I don't want to say bust so far, but I mean, ZT took him very high in the first. I was expecting to be RB1 value, and that just has not happened. So I'm gonna go Mixon there. Slight. Not even a slight edge. I'm gonna give Mixon the win there. Luke Musgrave versus Darren Waller. Musgrave did get hurt in the game, and I don't know if ZT does not have another tight end. So waivers are tomorrow, so I assume ZT is going to be going for some sort of tight end out there, and I can't imagine there's a ton out there. I'm not going to name drop, but man, I don't even know. I mean, I usually I'd be like, okay, coming into the year, I would have been 100% Darren Waller, but he's been looking bad too. Daniel Jones has been looking bad. You saw how ugly that Monday night game was for that offense.
I mean, Bears went. Oh, I mean, you know how hard it is to draft 2 like early round tight ends and go 0-2 on them. Pitts and Waller, man, that is rough, dude.
I forgot he went Pitts. Yikes!
It's tough. I mean, no one predicted that.
Imagine if he took 2 just guys. I mean, he could have a much better starting squad. I don't know. That's rough. I mean, the Pitts one, I think, everyone didn't want to buy into the fact that Desmond Ridder sucked. I was probably part of that crew. But man, Waller was supposed to be just one of the safest choices you could have at tight end, and he has been the opposite. Yeah. I guess I'll give ZB the slight edge just because he has a tight end right now on his roster, and DT does not have one to play, assuming Musgrave does not play. I'm giving the edge to. I'm giving the edge to Waller because ET is going to have a fun time on waivers tomorrow or tonight. James Cook versus Ramondre Stevenson. James Cook, that's easy. He's looked great. He finally got his touchdown, even though he didn't really perform well on the ground. Ramondre Stevenson has been one of the biggest disappointments this year. So we're getting into a trend here with ZT's team. We're finding it. His running backs have been extreme disappointments where I thought this was going to be his biggest strength coming into the season. Ramondre has not looked. I mean, the whole Patriots team just looks awful, and it's just not going to change unless Ramondre is going to be more used in the passing game because they're still splitting work with Zeke and even Ty Montgomery. And Ramondre's like pass catching was the biggest plus on him. He was like, oh, he has the way to get on the field for those third downs, and he just has not been used. And I don't get it. Patriots suck. So give James the edge there. McLaurin versus Jordan Addison. I'm going to give McLaurin the edge there just because we know he's going to get production. Jordan Addison had a very weird goose egg last week, which his usage was going up, and then immediately, he got one target that game. I mean, the whole Vikings offense looked a little shaky, so I'm just going to chalk that up as a week you forget. But I'm going to give McLaurin there just because of guaranteed production, or at least looks. Gabe Davis has looked great, and Pittman kind of took he still had 5 targets, only 1 reception. This is a pretty good matchup. I think I'm going to lean Pittman just because they are going against Tennessee secondary, even though they did just keep the Bengals in check. I might go wash there, actually. I'm going to go wash Gabe Davis, Pittman. With all that said, this is kind of a grungy matchup.
It is.
Jesus. I think the QB battle is going to be where this comes down to. I'm going to go, and because I chose Lamar over Kirk Cousins, I'm going to go ZT in a very close win. I'm going to go like a 115 to 111 for ZT.
Yeah, I think ZB pulls it out. I don't know. I like ZB's team a little bit more than ZT's team, but I mean, it's really like it's a toss up. You flip a coin or something. Yeah, I think ZB wins slightly. Yeah, Gabe Davis. I didn't realize Gabe Davis was on his team. Gabe Davis is having a really good year. Gabe Davis should be a guy you start every week. I mean, or arguably maybe.
Yeah, he's a good flex.
Yeah. But yeah, ZB's having a rough season, but I think he kind of knew that going into the year. But had he kept Joe Burrow and then flipped him for first and a fourth, he'd be feeling pretty good about himself right now. But instead, he's got Cal Ridley and whoever he drafted with that pick he got. Kyle Pitts. So now we're going to ZT's last matchup of the week. ZT's Crystal Ball versus Barry's Last Wish. 2 teams that we thought were going to be in the playoffs for sure. And right now, one of these, I think both are out of the playoffs right now. Yeah, both are out of the playoffs right now. Yeah, so this is a big game to really stay within that like fringe race. But yeah, so let's get into it. Trevor Lawrence against Buffalo or CJ Stroud versus Atlanta. So the one big thing that pops off, I'll get to that afterwards. But Trevor Lawrence, Buffalo, or CJ Stroud, Atlanta. I think the Buffalo-Jacksonville game is going to be a close one. I think both these games are going to be close. Atlanta's got a solid defense. I'll go CJ. I'll go Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence has a solid game. You got the factor in the jet lag aspect. They've been there for 2 weeks already. Like I think they're going to have. I think they're going to have to be on their game. Buffalo's out. Tre'Davious White, their secondary wasn't really the best already. But now you take away Tre'Davious White. Now you got another corner in there, a young kid. So I think Trevor Lawrence has a big week. I could also see Calvin Ridley having a big week next week. But yeah, I love this though. CJ Stroud has been going to Nico Collins a lot, and if Stroud does have a good game, that'll be nullified by having Nico Collins. And Nico Collins is crazy. I dodged a bullet because I wanted T. Higgins during the draft, but I never thought I'd be sitting here right now saying Nico Collins over T. Higgins. And I'm saying it, Nico Collins over T. Higgins. Travis Etienne versus Bijan Robinson. Buffalo, I mean, A-Chain had, 120 yards and 6 carries last week. Etienne could easily do that. Bijan's been amazing. I got to go Bijan here. But it might be closer than anticipated. T.J. Hockenson versus Dallas Goedert. The Chiefs are awful at guarding tight ends. Absolutely trash. T.J. Hockenson might have like a 20-plus this week. And I'm not kidding. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Goddard's been kind of a disappointment this year. Yeah. But the tight ends suck this year, man. Like the outside of Hockenson, Kelsey solid outside of week 1, and then and honestly, Evan Ingram, man, Evan Ingram's up there as far as like
I have Evan Ingram in like 2 or 3 of my leagues. I love it.
It's great, dude. He was such a good value guy too.
Fantastic.
So then you got Olave versus Josh Jacobs. Man, Olave has had a solid season besides last week, but it hasn't been like a good. You haven't been feeling good about Olave's games throughout the game. If you watch the Saints game, you're watching the Saints, you're like, damn, dude, when's Olave gonna get a target? Second half comes, he gets like peppered in the third and fourth quarter. And like, oh, okay, I'm fine now. Jacobs,
touchdown.
Yeah, Jacobs finally looked good this past week though. They finally gave him the ball. Jacobs was pissed off after the game. He said he's tired of losing. Yada yada yada. If you look at what David Montgomery did last week, I can see Jacobs fucking having a good game, just like what David Montgomery did last week. So I'm going to go Jacobs here, starting to get into his zone. I think they're going to probably really go with that run and try to have more of a balanced attack if Jimmy G comes back. Garrett Wilson, Tank Dell. Man, Alex likes these AFC South guys, huh? And a whole team of them. That's not a good thing. Garrett Wilson, I think against Denver, Zach Wilson's back. I think he's the number 1 pick everyone thought he was going to be. I think Zach Wilson sucks. But they're playing against Denver, and I think Garrett Wilson will have a better game than Tank Dell because I think Nico Collins is getting all the targets now. And then you got David Montgomery versus Hollywood Brown. Give me David Montgomery. They love David Montgomery. Gibbs is nowhere to be seen. It's David Montgomery's backfield. It's David Montgomery's town. And, yeah, I think David Montgomery's the guy. And even though Marquise Brown's been solid, been probably one of the most consistent receivers this year as far as like double digits every week, like a very Tutu Atwell-y kind of season. But I'm going to go D-Mont over that one. So looking at it, I think my guy Cobb's got the edge over at Alex. I'm going to go ahead and say I think, and I agree with that too, Stu. But yeah, I think Cobb gets a win, and I think he starts to itch and scratch and claw to get right back in that playoff race. I love it. We're talking week 5. We're talking the playoff race. I mean, Jesus,
Love it.
I do love it. But yeah, I'm gonna go you. I think barely edge it out, but I just have to say, man, Houston, Atlanta, Houston. I'm seeing way too many NFC and AFC South guys on a starting roster, and when you have that many AFC South and NFC South guys on a roster, it's when you know it's not your year. Especially when you tanked for a bunch of high-profile guys this offseason. It's just not your year, and that's fine, Alex. That's fine.
He's got an extra 1st and 4th going in the next draft, so he's set up.
He is set up. He's set up for the future, and that's based on what we saw last year. Alex was big on the future. He quit the show. Well, actually, he wanted to come back to the show. We said no after he quit last year the way he did. But like, it's just I don't know. At some point, maybe he rethought things. Like, well, I'll get into this with my motivational squeeze, but I just don't like the product he has in the field. And I think this is a good spot for you to come back and start a little win streak.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I think there's been a few lineup decisions that I've been making that I think it's been more. The Javonte Williams, that was just stupid. That was just something I just got lost in the weekend and just completely forgot he was in my lineup. But there's just I'm waiting for a guy to show up on my team. Hawkinson's been great. Etienne's been close. Nico Collins is one of those guys that I've been kind of on the fence of starting. I think what I did was the 1 week he got a 4. Outside of that, he's been doing great. And it's frustrating because I do like my team. I have some good guys on the bench as well that I'm looking forward to, blossoming, I guess. But not where I expected to be. I know Alex is probably the same way. I'd much rather be 2-2 though than 1-3 going into this matchup. Yeah, it's gonna come down to that Falcon. I mean, it's easy to say. You listed how many players he has in the AFC South or NFC South. Just the South. Yeah, Jesus. But yeah, the Houston and Falcons game is going to be it's going to be what decides this game. which is easy to say when his quarterback and his number one player in Bijan Robinson is in it. But yeah, I'll slightly lean me. I would have hoped that I had a better feeling about this game than I do. But I'll go me in like a kind of a grindy matchup. I'll do like a 117 to 113. I think it'll be close.
Yeah. I mean, and then honestly, I feel like this whole fringe playoff spots this week, based on the losses and the wins that are going to happen, we're going to have a lot of teams at 3-2 this weekend, and that's a scary place to be.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think it was like last year too. We had that gross like middle of the pack. I wasn't in it because my team was bad last year, but there was a really like big list of like middle of the pack guys all of last year, and it was keeps you on the edge of your seat all season. So we're starting to get to the good stuff as far as standings go.
Yeah, well, once we get to like Thanksgiving time, that's where like you start to see that's like a couple weeks before like playoffs are upon us and stuff, and then you have like the teams are 2 and 3 right now, and the 3-2 teams. That's where like it's just you need to separate yourself at some point, and then obviously and then you just have uneasy holidays, and no one wants a Thanksgiving where like they might not make the playoffs. You're watching like your guys like not do shit in the Thanksgiving game. Like, dude, this sucks, dude. I don't want to go home. I just want
to time to be happy.
Off. Yeah, I just want to sleep till 2024. No one should feel that way on Thanksgiving, but it happens. It's fantasy. But we're gonna get to our Pancake King. We're gonna get to our Pancake King rankings, and that's brought to you by IHOP, the home of the stack. Pumpkin pancakes are back. It's fall. Go get your pumpkin pancakes. I just had some a couple weeks ago with my girlfriend. They were phenomenal. It's the best I've ever done it, and I think you should try it too. So go to IHOP and get your stacks. All right, so we have Pancake King rankings. So we're going to begin with the 7th spot, and we're just going to go down from there. So my 7th spot for the Pancake King rankings is Alex. We just talked about it. He's on the fringe right now. He might lose this week, so he might be even drop further down. He was my 12th spot for the last few weeks, so like it's funny that he's back to 7. But just looking at his team, the AFC South, the NFC South thing, that's not going to get you far. It's just too much a collection of unknown type of guys. You're not winning the championship with CJ Stroud or Justin Fields. It's not happening. But he's in the playoffs right now with Jacobs. You got Eckler coming back soon. But yeah, Alex at 7 for me.
Yeah, Alex is my 7 as well. I think the collection, CJ Stroud has obviously been a great surprise and someone that made him comfortable moving on from Burrow, even though I would be comfortable moving on from Burrow if I was offered a 1st and a 4th after his performance so far. No, I think Alex's team is solid. Where it really lives is his running backs. If Josh Jacobs comes back to form, Eckler comes back healthy, between them two and Bijan, that's going to be a team that can fight with anybody with just those 3 running backs. We've seen Paul do it in the past with 3-headed monsters at running backs. I think Adam maybe at some point had something like that. But I think top to bottom, his team's solid. Has some decent depth. I think his running backs are going to be the story of his team going forward.
My 8th spot is Cobb. As long as the Jacksonville Jaguars can get on track and do their thing, I think he's going to be fine. It's just the whole point is, can those 2 guys really get back into it, Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne? I think they can. I think they are a playoff team, so they're going to have to start making moves here soon. And I don't see top to bottom, your team's not a bad team at all. So it's like at some point it's going to click all together. And once your quarterback situation is clicking, I think you're going to start to roll off some wins. So I have you at 8.
I have myself at 8 as well, actually. I was thinking about going a little lower, but I'm I'm losing my mind watching these Jaguars games, how close they are to having bigger weeks than actually show up in fantasy. Trevor Lawrence looked really good last week. He looked good the week before for the most part. He's been just a couple inches off of some bigger weeks. And then, just some lineup decisions on my end, hand up as a GM, as an owner. I'm going to have to own and have to fix up going forward. So I mandate.
At 9, I got my guy Adam, A. Millie. Tua, I said last week, you were going to start to see Tua, and we saw Tua. You got a 15. Drake London, touchdown dependent. You got Desmond Ritter, awful. Aaron Jones, hamstring, battling that. He looked like a shell of himself last week. He still might be on a snap count going forward the next few weeks. Then you got George Pickens, and they had Trubisky. Trubisky's probably going to be their guy for the next few weeks. It's pretty rough. That only makes it worse. I mean, Pickens wasn't even a guy I was a fan of even with Pickett. Now Trubisky's there, even worse. Really, his team is relying on 2 guys, and that I'm not a fan of when you rely on 2 guys in a team. I know Adams the second overall right now, second overall in points, but I don't think this is going to last. I think Adams going to be sitting right here because I'm looking at just your team. I'm not really looking at the record wise. I mean, obviously I consider that, but like when I just look at your team and only see 2 guys that are like, because right now I'm looking at his team, only 2 guys on his team would start on my team. That's it. Only 2 guys would start on his team. That's where I'm like, not behind this team. So yeah, get him out.
It continues. I really hope Adam watches these shows, man. Yeah, we just got a weak text, by the way, about later for ball.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. At my 9 spot, I have Yags. Talked to earlier, his receivers are awesome, but bye weeks are here, and this is where I'm really worried about where Yags is gonna fall when he has to bench a Tyreek Hill, when he doesn't have a Devontae Adams. We'll see. And again, his running back situation is still awful. Like this is where it's really going to start shaping out, like where the true teams lie. And I think Yags might start slipping a little bit, but he's 2-2 right now, which is great. Again, he's playing with house money, so hopefully that's not the case.
Okay, so my 10th spot, ZT. We just talked about ZT. It's funny because I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna go ZB here because I have ZB beating ZT this week, so it would only make sense that I have him ahead of ZT. I have ZB here. He's got overall top to bottom. It's a solid team. Not really that many home run hitters. James Cook could very well be that by season's end. That could be a top 10 running back. He looks fantastic, but yeah, I just don't know if he has enough to get in the playoffs with this team. There's not many home run hitters, like I said, on his squad, but who knows? Maybe Kirk Cousins can start averaging 30s, and then everybody else can just kind of rally behind him. But I have ZB at 10.
Yeah, we have pretty similar rankings. I'm going ZT here just because I had him winning that matchup. So that, again, only made sense.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think he got some flack. There was an owner that was dogging ZT for starting Anthony Richardson over Lamar Jackson. Ended up being the right call last week. He has 2 great quarterbacks for his starters. I'm going to be watching football, man. Don't you worry. Focus on your matchup. I'll be okay. So yeah, I like his quarterback situation is great, but you can only start one in this league. Amon-Ra is great. His running backs are just extremely disappointing. Unless they turn it around, this team is not going to be anything but an eighth seed at most. If they do, they have a big second half of the year. This team is very much competitive, can very well make a nice playoff push. But from what we've seen so far between Gibbs and Stevenson, that's making a lot of alarms go off in my head if I'm ZT. So hopefully he turns it around. But and this week I got him winning, so maybe this is where it starts.
I have ZT here. pretty much all the reasons you just mentioned. He's a guy who doesn't really make much moves during the season to like do anything with his team. So like what you see is what you get here, and this is it. And this is it. It's not a team that's going to get the championship. Probably not make the playoffs. And I think at some point, I don't know when ZT's going to stop like relying on this like made up championship that he had in like 2009 before we even had a keeper league. So like that never happened. You barely have any playoff wins under your belt, and yeah, you draft well, and you've had key guys, but like this is the same win a championship. This ain't making the playoffs either. So DT a return to mediocrity. If DT was like a president, it'd be the most mediocre like 4-year term ever. Zach Taylor and a mediocre. Yeah, I'm not gonna vote for that guy. Mediocrity? No, this is America, goddamn. We deserve the best. ZT's fantasy team deserves the best. ZT's fantasy team deserves a better fantasy team name. There's so many things about his team that I would just come in. If I was to take over that team, I would just revamp so many ways, change the team name, kick the old guys out, bring some new blood in there. But yeah, ZT, yeah.
Showing a little bit of Dan Snyder.
Yeah.
My 11th spot is ZB for all the reasons you had mentioned. I think Ridley still has it in him to have a good year. He's been just dropping some passes, has been a couple inches away from having a bigger day than he had. I think he's good youth on his team. Again, a team that I'd be happy about moving forward in a keeper league. I think he has some good options, but they don't really have the heavy hitters to compete with some of the top teams. He's also the only team that has scored under 100 twice already by week 5, which isn't great. But I see brighter days ahead. But until I see him, I'm going to keep him at 11.
Yeah, and this is our Pancake King presented by IHOP, and here is our Pancake King.
You are the Pancake King, young and sweet-hearting fan of thieves. Ooh, see that boy, watch that taste, dig in the Pancake King.
So, my Pancake King is probably your Pancake King. It's my brother Tasia. The Dallas Stackers Club, big week for him. I think he's going to get on his first win of the season this weekend. But 0-4, I can't. You're the only 0-4 team. Although he's not the worst scoring team, so that's something. I think he's 10th overall in scoring. Dak, we're going to see what Dak and CeeDee Lamb can do this weekend for him. But overall, Madison was a bust as far as a keeper. But, I mean, look at his fantasy points. He's only had 1 week below double digits. So Cam Akers hasn't taken that role yet. DeAndre Swift on the come up. But he started Adam Thielen. I don't really know. His team is not performing. And, like, sometimes it's not – you don't have a bad team. You're not a bad manager. Your team's not performing. And every week you're not performing. And it's like, okay, well, you either make a move or you say, hey, like, I had bad luck. The guys I drafted didn't perform well this year. That happens. It's fantasy. But 0-4, yeah, I think Tatum's got a shot to win this week and maybe rally off. I mean, he's got a shot. I mean, right now you're not out of it yet, but if you lose this week, I think it's safe to say you're probably going to be eliminated from the playoffs. There's no comeback from an 0-5 start. So big week for him, must win. But yeah, Tasia, he's my 12th spot.
Yeah, he's also my 12th spot as well. I think he's had some close ones, but it just hasn't been a flashy squad, unfortunately. On top of Madison, Damian Pierce has been pretty disappointing as well. Kenneth Walker's looked great. And if Tasia, and I do think he can pull back some wins and start to claw back a little bit, DeAndre Swift might be his savior of, you mentioned it earlier, getting that pick. That's huge based off of how he's looking. And there's also a Cooper Kupp coming back for Tasia. So if he's able to pull out a win this week, and then he gets Kupp back on top of Walker being known as bye, he could be a team to watch out for. So hopefully there's some brighter days ahead. But sitting at 0-4 right now, not the best points for. Keep him at the Pancake King for me.
Yeah, so we're going to close out the show here like we usually do, paying homage to the late, great Marcus Berry. We have Berry's Motivational Squeeze. where one of us will, or both of us will take one player in the league and give him some advice, like how Barry used to do it. So here we go.
This is why you're fucking holding back, and I'm tired of the BS.
Yeah, but it was breaking news last night. Developing story: Barry has a girlfriend now. Many are saying she's an older woman apparently, and she's also very fat. Whoever's watching this, Barry used to tell me not even a full year ago, a couple months back, that he thought fat women were gross, being fat is a choice, and it's disgusting. And now he's shacking up with an older woman at an apartment in Alexandria, so good for him. But anyway, my Barry's motivational squeeze is gonna go to my guy Alex. I think I did him last week, and I think he needs to stop with the Barry team names because it just ain't working out for him. He tried it last year, it did not work. He had to go to a tank mode and change his fantasy team name. I think it's time to move on and go to change a team name because something's not working out. You tanked last year to get a full different team of guys. We've barely seen Eckler. You traded Burrow already, another guy you tanked for and traded for. Jacobs has been all right for you, but like these are all high value picks. It seems like you made that trade to get rid of Burrow. You already realized through week 4 that's over, and you're trading him and getting picks for next year. It seems like he is kind of has one foot out the door already for next year. That's what it seems like. Because you're not that confident in CJ Stroud. You think he's going to continue what he's been doing. He's been a surprise this year. I just don't see it happening, continuing. But, yeah, who knows? But my thing is, Alex, for the future, if you're going to tank, let's tank. And let's get a good amount of picks for doing so. And actually, and don't keep guys in the high tender. I think as far if anything to take away from what Alex did last year is to not tank because it's not a lock that you're going to do well the following year. It's not a lock at all. And he's a huge example of it because he's already getting off guys that he traded for this past offseason. So if you are going to tank, be careful. Be very careful and talk to Alex before you do so. That's my advice to Alex and the league.
Yeah, motivating my opponent, man. That's what the hell. No, mine's going to be Tasia. I kind of fed into it a little bit when I had put him at 12, but this is a team that, he's sitting at the bottom of the barrel right now that I think could bounce back. You got Dameon Pierce finally looked decent last week. And I think they're getting Tunsil back this week, or they're supposed to start getting some linemen back this week, which is going to be a huge benefit. Alexander Madison hasn't lost the job yet, which is a great sign. You would take the 10s if he keeps giving you 10s. That'd be great for you. DeAndre Swift was an amazing find, potentially behind Kyron Williams of pick of the draft, maybe. And especially a season saver, potentially. Kenneth Walker, you'll have him for the rest of the season. He's looking great. And then you have Cooper Kupp coming back. And if he can step in and kind of replace what Puka's been doing, I think you're going to be set. I think you're going to be fine. It's a tough – no one wants to start 0-4. You've had some close losses. Outside of week 1, Tasia's losses have been pretty close. He lost to 50 by Alex, but I think that was another one that was right in his grasp. So it's still a competitive team. It's not one that I'm chalking up as a win if I'm facing them for any team involved. So in those matchups. So Tasia, I think better days are ahead for you. I think your team is starting to hopefully take form, get healthier, and start playing to their full potential. So good luck to you.
Yeah, good words of wisdom right there from a 2-time champ, Ryan Cobb. All right, guys. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed the Cobb and Dash show, the early Cobb and Dash show. We hope you guys enjoyed the chug that Cobb gave us at 10:42 in the morning. The earliest.
I gotta go eat something now.
The earliest one that we know of. We've had another one that Barry sent us last year. We don't even know if that was a real alcohol. That might have been a chug of water. But anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We had 3 people on at one point on here. It's the most we've had all season so far. So it's really great. We love you guys, and we wish everyone good luck. And Cobb, we wish you a happy and healthy time in Austin, my man.
Appreciate it, man. I'll see you guys next week.
All right, take it easy, fellas.